Most people work harder every year, yet their performance barely improves. They feel busy, overwhelmed, and exhausted because they are relying on motivation instead of a system. The problem isn't your effort, it's that you don't know what is actually limiting your results. Once you measure your performance baseline, you can finally stop guessing and start improving with data. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact system that I help my clients to install to fix that so that you can eliminate the patterns that are limiting your performance, stop relying on motivation, and build sustainable peak performance. Now, the first thing you need to identify is where your performance is being limited. Because if you don't understand what's draining your energy, reducing your focus, or holding back your growth, you will keep working harder without creating better results. Now, every person will have a different performance profile because your life, your goals, your responsibilities, and your challenges are unique. Your energy patterns, your ability to focus, your habits, your mindset, and the way you manage your time all affect how you perform. So, the best way to understand what is limiting your performance is by auditing your current baseline. You need to look at where your energy is going, where your focus is being lost, and which areas are creating the biggest gap between where you are and where you want to be. Now, I have a tool that I give to my clients to help them with this. It's called the Peak Performance Protocol. I will leave a link in the description below for you to get it for free. Use it to measure your current performance, identify your biggest bottleneck, and create a clear path toward sustainable peak performance. Now, the way the peak performance protocol works is simple. You start by tracking your performance patterns throughout the day. For 1 week, you don't try to change anything, you simply collect data. Every few hours, you check in and record what you have been doing, how focused you were, and your energy level, your mental state, and whether your actions were moving you closer to your goals. For example, at 9 a.m., look back at the previous hour. What did you work on? How focused were you? What gave you energy? What drained your energy? Were you working on something important or just reacting? You repeat this process throughout the day for an entire week. And yes, it may feel uncomfortable at first. Most people have never taken the time to truly understand how they perform. But this is one of the most powerful exercises you can do because you cannot optimize what you don't measure. And don't just track your task, track your decisions, your distractions, your habits, your conversations, your environment, and the moments where your performance drops. Because what you're going to discover is that many things are limiting your performance without you even realizing it. Maybe it's a habit that is draining your energy, maybe it's a lack of clarity that is slowing your progress. Maybe it's spending too much time on low value activities instead of focusing on what creates the biggest impact. The goal of the peak performance protocol is not to judge your current performance. The goal is to create awareness because once you understand your patterns, you can identify your biggest performance bottleneck and build a system that helps you perform at your best consistently. There are four major performance leakages that silently draining your ability to perform at your best. So let me show you the first one because this is the foundation of everything else. The first performance leakage is clarity leakage. Think about this. If you wake up every day without knowing exactly what matters most, where your energy should go, or what actions will create the biggest impact, how can you expect yourself to perform at your highest level? It's like trying to reach a destination without a map. You might be moving, you might even be working hard, but you don't know if you are moving in the right direction because they are carrying too many decisions inside their mind. They are constantly asking, what should I focus on? What should I do next? Is this actually important? Am I making progress? The problem is not your ability. The problem is that your brain is being used as a storage system instead of a performance system. So, the first leakage you need to fix is removing uncertainty and creating clarity. Now, here's how you do that. First, you need to define your vision. Where do you want to be in next 90 days? What results actually matter? Second, identify your critical priorities. What are the few actions that will create the biggest impact? Third, create your daily performance alignment system, which means when starting your day, you should already know where your attention and energy need to go. When you have clarity, you stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter and start investing it into what creates results. Now, once you have clarity in what matters most, the next challenge is actually having the energy to execute at that level, because knowing what to do is only half the equation. The second performance leakage that silently limits your results is energy leakage. And this is one of the biggest reasons people struggle to perform consistently, because most people manage their time, but they don't manage their energy. You can have clear goals, you can have a perfect plan, you can know exactly what actions you need to take, but if your energy system is not supporting you, executing that plan becomes much harder. This is why some days you feel focused, productive, and unstoppable, and other days, even simple tasks feel exhausting. Your performance depends on your physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, and recovery capacity. But most people ignore these signals. They stay constantly connected. They rely on caffeine and motivation to get throughout the day. And over time, their performance starts to decline. So, if you want to fix energy leakage, the first step is to understand where your energy is being lost. Ask yourself, when do I naturally have my highest energy? When does my energy consistently drop? What activities increase my energy? What activities drain my energy? How well am I receiving each day? Because once you understand your energy patterns, you can build your personal energy management system. You can decide, when should I do my most important work? When should I handle easier tasks? When should I recover and recharge? What habits allow me to perform consistently? High performers don't have unlimited energy. They simply understand how to protect it and restore it into what matters most. Now, once you have clarity and energy, the next challenge is protecting your ability to focus. And this is something that most people underestimate. They have clear goals, they have enough energy, they know that they should be doing, but they still struggle to execute because their attention is constantly being pulled in different directions. This brings us to the third performance leakage: focus leakage. And this is one of the biggest reasons people stay busy but fail to create meaningful progress. Let me give you an example. Imagine you have a professional athlete preparing for the biggest competition of their career. They know exactly what results they want, they have trained their body, they have the energy required, but during the competition, they keep looking at the crowd, checking their phone, thinking about other things, and losing concentration. Do you think they will perform at the highest level? Probably not. Because performance is not only about effort, performance is about where you direct attention. And this is exactly what happens in everyday life. People start their day with important goals, but then emails, notifications, meetings, social media, and unexpected requests take control of their attention. By the end of the day, they're exhausted. They were busy, but they weren't focused on what actually mattered. The problem is not that you don't have enough time. The problem is that your attention being fragmented. And when your attention is fragmented, your performance become inconsistent. Now, fixing focus leakage requires more than just deleting distractions, because your ideal focus system depends on your goals, your responsibilities, your environment, and the type of work you do. And this is where I help my clients build a personalized focus system, because your focus strategy cannot be copied from someone else. It needs to be designed around your life, your work, and your performance goals. Well, let me show you the foundation. The first step is to identify peak focus windows. When during the day are you naturally at your best? Second, define your high impact activities. What activities actually move your goals forward? Third, create focus protection systems. How do you remove distractions, protect deep work, and control your environment? High performance don't simply have more discipline, they have systems that protect their attention. And when you protect your attention, you protect your performance, because you don't need to work harder, you need to direct your energy and attention toward what creates the biggest impact. Now, this brings us to the fourth and final performance leakage. And this is the one that determines whether you simply know what you should do or whether you actually become the person who consistently executes at a higher level. This is execution leakage. Let me ask you something. How many times have you created a plan, set a goal, or decided that you were going to make a change? But after a few days, weeks, or you slowly went back to your old patterns. Maybe you started a new routine, maybe you planned your week, maybe you knew exactly what actions you needed to take, but somehow consistency became the challenge. This is where most people get stuck because they don't have an information problem. They know what they need to do, but they have an execution problem. An execution leakage happens when there is a gap between your intention and your actions. You know where you want to go, but your daily behaviors are not consistently moving you there. And this is usually happens for two reasons. Firstly, your performance systems are not strong enough. You are depending on motivation, discipline, and willpower instead of creating structures that make success easier. Because motivation changes, your energy changes, but a strong execution system keeps you moving forward even when things are difficult. Secondly, your identity has not caught up with the level of performance you want to achieve because you cannot consistently perform beyond the way you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with consistency, your actions will continue to prove that belief. But when you start seeing yourself someone who follows through, protects their priorities, and keeps commitment to yourself, your behavior begins to change. So, fixing execution leakage requires two things. First, you need to build your personal performance system. This includes your weekly planning system, your daily execution habits, your accountability process, and finally, your performance review system. Secondly, you need to upgrade your performance identity because sustainable peak performance is not created by forcing yourself to do more. It's created by becoming the person who naturally operates at that level. And this is where everything connects. First, to create clarity so you know what matters. Then, you optimize your energy so you have the capacity to perform. Then, you protect your focus so your attention goes toward what creates results. And finally, you build an execution system so you can consistently turn your plans into reality. This is exactly why I created the Peak Performance Protocol. The protocol helps you identify your performance leakages, understand your current baseline, and create a personalized roadmap to improve your energy, focus, and execution. Because the goal is not to become productive for a few days. The goal is to build a performance system that is allows you to consistently achieve your goals. So, if you're ready to discover what's limiting your performance, you can access the Peak Performance Protocol to the link below. Complete your assessment, identify your biggest performance gap,